Alright, welcome back to another episode here at Scrap Mechanic Labs. I'm your host, Chief Engineer, and we are doing another Survival Theories video. The last one was so popular, so many people liked it, I decided, you know what, gonna try to make more of this kind of content, but it's not easy to do these survival theory videos because you have to have a lot of good stuff. To me, it's like you gotta see things, you gotta start seeing these patterns and putting it all together. But okay, before I go too much into the process, let's just get right into it. We're gonna go over a couple of main things in this video, stuff that I've noticed. The main one is gonna be the modular weapon systems. The next one is going to be the actual size of our characters. I figured out a neat way to figure out our exact size. The next thing is going to be something I call the spring glitch power problem. But don't worry, there's a solution. There's a solution for this. And the last one is going to be the story so far as the narrative of the Scrap Mechanic world and the way it's starting to appear to me, just based on the parts and the stuff that were being shown. So this is going to be really cool. I had a lot of fun doing this research and sorting through all this mess of information. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the Twitter feed for Scrap Mechanic, blah, 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 the Twitter feed for Scrap Mechanic. They have been posting weapon pretty much after weapon after weapon. Now, these are not hardcore killing style weapons. These are potato launching weapons. Let's see, the first one they showed us was the regular, it looked like your basic infantry type potato gun. Next they showed us a sniper rifle. Then they showed us a Gatling gun. And lastly, they showed us like a pistol, a type of potato pistol. But all this pretty much goes to show that my prediction about where they were going with this was pretty much spot on. I'm really proud of myself. This was before they showed any of these other weapons. This is when they just showed us our first potato gun. I had a feeling this was the road we were going to go down. And I'm so happy to see that modularity in the weapons buildings category of the game is going to be a thing, and that's going to be a really cool thing, because unlike Minecraft, where you just sort of dig and you find whatever you find, the scavenger hunt aspect of Scrap Mechanic is going to be so much better, because you'll be able to see the parts, and if you already have these recipes in your head, you'll be like, okay, I want to grab that, I want to grab this, I want to grab that, let's put something together here, instead of you mindlessly digging a hole and caving until you maybe spot something. The caves, okay, the spelunking is really what saves Minecraft when you discover the caves, but let's not get too much into that. This is about Scrap Mechanic. Before I get too distracted, I was talking about the modular weapon systems, and that'll be a nice lead into the actual size of our character. Now, the actual size, I had no idea. When I first started playing Scrap Mechanic, we landed in the creative realm. We saw mutant, I thought it was giant mutant corn, because you have no sense of scale, really. You see the wheat, you see the corn, you see these things that are familiar, sort of, and you think, man, that is a huge corn cob. I could fit inside this corn cob, and I'm thinking, wow, that's humongous. But then, here's where everything changed, right? They showed us a picture of the Gatling gun, which I'm going to put up right here. And in the Twitter feed, they said that the Gatling gun was made using fidget spinners. See? The brackets that hold the barrels? They said it. That's a fidget spinner. And by making that claim, they gave me a unit of measurement that I could actually use to determine the size of a dwarf in scrap mechanics. So how small are we? Well, you see, I photoshopped this up. I got this Photoshop, and I took the Gatling gun, I brought it into the Photoshop, and I scaled the gun according to the dwarf that they used in the reference photo from DevBlock 12, and I used the handle of the gun to scale it so that it would look like he's holding the Gatling gun. And then, once in that position, I took the fidget spinner that was properly scaled in relationship to the dwarf, and I just cut it out and laid out a bunch of them. And as you can see, the dwarf is about a little more than four fidget spinners high. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4 and a little bit more. Now, you're probably thinking, Chief, that's great. He's 4 fidget spinners high, but what exactly is the size of a fidget spinner? Well, I'm glad you asked, because a fidget spinner, a traditional, average, normal human fidget spinner, is 3 inches across from one end to the other. So 3 times 4 is 12. So wait, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, that's all. Yes, 3 times 4 is 12, plus a little more. So we'll give him. Actually, no. I'm completely wrong. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's 5 fidget spinners tall, plus a little more. So he is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 1 foot. And then about 4 more inches. A 3 plus maybe a third of a fidget spinner. So 1 foot, 4 inches tall. Okay, now the giant mutant corn thing makes sense. Granted, a foot-long piece of corn, that's not, I don't know, corn can be that about that size. I mean, it'd be a pretty big piece of corn, but it's still, I think it could fall into the realm of not mutant monster corn at that point. But as you could see, I mean, we're pretty darn small. We're tiny little dudes. I mean, we're a little bit bigger than a Smurf, I think. We're like giant Smurfs, but we're not blue. So that was fascinating to me, that if for some reason we landed in a world where all of Earth's unwanted fidget spinners got thrown away to be recycled, I guess, we, in relation to those, we would be pretty small dudes. So, and it wouldn't make sense for it to be a dwarf fidget spinner, because it would be too big for a dwarf to use it like a fidget spinner. They would be giant fidget spinners, humongous, and it just, to me, it wouldn't make sense for them to have all these fidget spinners that were that humongous. Now, it would have to be something on the line of a fad that happened on Earth. They had too many, and they ended up here on the planet that the dwarves landed on. Okay, we figured out the size of the dwarf. How is this useful in any way? Well, it gives us, it'll tie into the story so far, as I imagine it, based on all the information we've given. But that's the last point. We don't want to hit that yet. The next thing I want to hit on now that we know the size, is another important thing about a survival game is power. Now, we have a bunch of parts, and we have parts that will need power for them to run. Like gas engines will need gas, electrical engines will need electricity, and I'm going to assume that things like controllers and logic gates will also need a power source for them to function. And I was building a vehicle, and I said to myself, what if we had no power sources available? Can I cheat it a little bit? And I realized that the spring glitch can be used to create rotational energy that was pretty much unlimited and pretty much free. And so I built this vehicle, and I was driving around. I was thinking, man, is this going to break the game? Are we not going to... Are the things in the game that require energy, is that going to be undermined by the spring glitch itself? And I said to myself, oh, that could be a game breaker, because why would I run and go get fuel? Why would I charge my batteries when I could just transfer the rotational energy of my springs into my vehicles and just drive those around, and I'll be like, oh, this game is so easy, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, then I thought to myself, you know what? It's not a game breaker, because the survival mode resources that you will need to power all your things are consumables. So if the spring is providing a power source like those, the most logical solution to the problem is make springs consumable. But not so consumable so that they're on par with like batteries and gasoline. Make them consumable depending on, believe it or not, their orientation. Springs that are always held in a vertical or horizontal position won't be consumed as quickly as springs that are constantly being pivoted and worn out. So as long as they're treated as consumables in this way, we can continue to have the spring glitch, and it won't be like a game breaker for survival. So I thought that was interesting. I thought I would bring it up because I was concerned about that. But I didn't just bring it up and say, oh, survival is ruined, it's never going to work. Wah, 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 call the ambulance. Everything is never going to work out the way it is. There are always going to be solutions, as long as you really think about the problem and think about why it's a problem in the first place. And so, okay, that was my other concern about spring glitch and using it as a power source. The last thing I want to talk about now is the story of survival so far. Apparently, we're extremely small dwarves who are probably in an equally small spaceship that has crash landed on this planet full of crazy farm bots. Now, I mean that's a good basis for a story so far, but it brings me back to the joke. I mean, the riddle I asked at the beginning: how does a spaceship full of mechanics crash into a planet? I mean, were they unable to fix the problem? And Lego Freak I asked Lego Freak this question, and he actually gave me a brilliant answer. He said, yeah, it was a spaceship full of mechanics. Unfortunately, or apparently, there were no pilots on board the spaceship, so boom, boom, you know what I mean? I thought it was really funny. Okay, let's move on with as much of the story as we know so far. What kind of story? Well, it's a sandbox game, so you're gonna be able to make up your own. But some of the other neat things I've learned about the possible story of the game comes to us through one of the farmbot models that tells us a little bit more about what these farmbots will be doing and how they'll be functioning inside the game world. There was one farmbot with I believe it's just got the 6 claws underneath it, and it's just a head, and it looks like it has an antenna above it. Under closer inspection, you'll see that particular farmbot, that's not actually an antenna, that looks like a cable. So within a warehouse, these farmbots will probably be spawning and reaching down to grab and claw you, because they would be part of some kind of conveyor system that runs on those cables from above. So that's a neat little sneak peek into what foraging and resource hunting might be like inside of these warehouses that's coming up in survival in the future. So I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to it. I think there's probably not going to be anything more exciting than going on scavenger hunts inside of these areas, not knowing what you're going to find, what you're going to be able to build and put together, and then load up your backpack and head back out and see what you could create with your friends out there. So, keep dreaming, keep building, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Survival Theories. We went over a lot of stuff, a lot of interesting stuff. If you have any ideas you want to share, any theories you might have about the upcoming survival, please drop them in the comments below. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, and there was certain questions that still seem a little weird that didn't get answered that I might have missed, please give me some feedback in those comments. I want to make this the most exciting, the most awesome adventure we could go on together. So until next time, I was your host, Chief Engineer, signing off. Bye-bye.